When we think about disciple making, we speak about the principles of disciple making, the definition. I want to go beyond that, because there are two more things that are very crucial. What it means to me is a pilgrimage and a passion. I'll share with you the passion first. It's easier to grasp. In the passion, it is there are two twin passions I have in ministry: expository preaching and mentoring. If one day the Lord said to me, Edmund, you can only choose one: to preach for the rest of your life or to mentor for the rest of your life. In an instant, at the drop of a hat, I know exactly what I'll choose. I'll choose mentoring. I love to preach. I'm grateful for the ministry the Lord has entrusted to me in preaching. But I see the value in investing in it. So it has become a passion. I've given up speaking in conferences when it clashes with mentoring priorities. Because I feel we can minister to the multitudes, but to invest in the few is the strategy of Jesus. In terms of principle, I think disciple making is the core mission of the church. I'm convinced that it's the strategy of Jesus, and therefore it is important. So the Lordship decision, the Mount Moriah encounter with God, the sense of absolute surrender marks the disciple of Christ. There's one more mark. There are many marks, but I call it the LS, the servant, the learning servant. He's a learner, he's a servant. We have to learn servanthood. We have to learn to serve. We are not just learners in terms of academicians, students in the theological school. We are learners to serve the Lord and His people. So these are marks of disciple I find. The word agenda, the Lordship agenda, the love agenda. By this shall all men know you are my disciples if you have love for one another. The servanthood agenda. These are things that mark up the disciple of Jesus. Here are the things I learned from Doug and Jim. There are many, many lessons I've learned in huge lessons, deep deposits. I'm indebted to them. But from Jim Chu, one of the deep things I remember was one day we had lunch together. We spent regular time together. And for his sake, I was looking at my watch. Because he was the national director of Navigators and we had a long lunch. And I was wondering, when will he need to go back to the office? National directors are busy people. Especially national directors of Navigators. So I said to him, Jim, don't you need to go back to the office? Don't you need to go back to the office? And he looked at me, he gave a big smile and he said, oh, I've carved out the whole day for you. Literally, my jaw dropped. I went like, wow, this is an immense privilege. Who am I? I was only a Bible college student. I'm not one of his staff. And here's a busy leader who carved out the whole day for me. I've learned that lesson. One day Jim came to me and said, Ed, how would you like to be mentored by my boss? I don't know who Doug is. But anybody Jim recommends would be good. I said, I'll count your privilege. Oh, sure, I'll introduce you to Doug. He gave me the contact. So I went to Doug's home for dinner with my wife. Priscilla cooked. We had a wonderful dinner, got to know each other. And then and Priscilla were washing the dishes. And Doug said, come, take a walk with me. I met him for the first time in my life. It was a walk I would never forget. Because the first thing in the walk, I noticed in his neighborhood, he stopped and he talked to his neighbor and he shared the gospel with them. Then I went like, wow, this is mentoring, alright? I learned very quickly. I mean, the guy did it with such gentleness and grace and love for the Lord and love for his neighbor. And then he went back to his house, get the tract, pass it to his neighbor, and I was observing all this. Like, I was a Bible college student. I went like, wow, this is better than a PhD program. One of the things I do, or the key thing, the key principle is on-the-job training. We cannot train evangelism in a classroom. On the job, like what Doug Sparks did for me. Unannounced. First day meeting him, we went on an evangelistic mission. Just flow out of his life. I call that flow, the PDA principle, personal revival, D, divine appointment, A, active obedience. Robert Coleman has done the world a huge favor in his book, The Master Plan of Evangelism. And the number one principle articulated in the book is selection. Selection is the key. That selection is everything. Select the wrong person is a huge heartache. Select the right person and it just flourished. I was in Colorado Springs taking a conference and then flying back to Chiang Mai, Thailand, in a theological school, to teach in a theological school. And my secretary put me 4 hours in a what you call wait time, transit time in San Francisco. So I took that flight from Colorado Springs to San Francisco and missed my plane by 30 seconds. How I knew it was 30 seconds? It was midnight. I ran through, I suddenly realized how huge San Francisco airport is. Running to catch a plane at midnight. I arrived there. The gate was empty in the transit. And then I arrived, the door opened, the staff came and said, sorry, we just closed the cockpit. So I said, okay. I sat there waiting for a rebooked flight. And I saw in the empty airport, waiting for my flight to be rebooked, a fellow American passenger walked across, so dejected. I said, hello. He said, hi. I said, you missed your plane? He said, yes. This is my first time missing a plane. I said, it's my first time too. Do you have time to talk? We both have all the time until morning. That was good. So I introduced myself. I'm Edmund Chan, I'm pastor in Singapore. Can we talk? So I declared my interest first. We had coffee, and within an hour, by 1 a.m. San Francisco time, Nick Ellisworth prayed to receive Christ. And then he turned to me and said, now I know why my plane is delayed. I said, I'm sorry, you got it wrong. Now I know why my plane I think the key is learning to master life's transitions. The discipleship must be seen not synchronistically but diachronistically. Synchronistically is in a moment of time. Sing is in SYN, with time. Diachronistically, dia is through. So it's through time. Discipleship must be seen through time. The mastering of the life's transitions become crucial. And learning to cope in those transitions. The reason why we lose the passion and we are so busy we can't disciple is because we truncate a 4-step discipling to a 2-step. The 4-step is know the truth, apply the truth, reap the benefits, pass it on. We truncate it to know the truth and pass it on. So what do? We know the truth, and because we are elders, because we are church leaders, board members, we are mentors, we pass it on. So we reproduce after a kind. The question is, what kind do we reproduce? We reproduce the kind who tells us that quiet time is important, and they pass it on, but they don't do it. And tell us prayer is important, they pass it on, but they don't do it. It will be radically transforming when we apply in our lives and we reap the benefit and we fire one another with the joy of answered prayer, specific answered prayer, the power of God at work in every arena of life, and there is a fire, there's a passion. It makes a huge difference. I was in the States once, some years ago, mentoring a PhD student. And there was a world-renowned Christian leader who was passing by. He was lecturing in Trinity for a very short moment because he's moving from Chicago to another city. So he's lecturing and we got connected, and he said, I would love to meet up with you. And I would love to meet up with him. And that's the only time we can meet up because he's moving on. But that's the time I clash with meeting this guy. But I realized if I postpone, I'm sending them a signal. You are not as important. There are other people, because of their talent, because of their association, because they are high up there in the social pecking order, because they are high up there in the hierarchy, they are more important than you. Therefore, please excuse and make way so that Edmund Chan can meet with this so and so. It will be a terrible thing to mentor. So I said to this Christian leader, I love to meet up with you, but looks like our schedule, we can't meet. You're traveling, you're transiting here, and I have already prior commitments I got to do. Then I went to this guy, these PhD students, 2 of them. And when they heard I gave up a meeting for them, the immediate question is, why? Why us? And my simple reply is, because you're important to God. You're important to me, of course, but you're important to God. It was a lesson they told me, or at least one of them mentioned, he would never forget. What's the difference between the good old 1980s and the present? There's one thing that have crept into Christianity and the church, that have actually compromised discipleship severely. It is consumerism. Because there are 2 primary attitudes on consumerism, my rights and my choice. The spirit of consumerism have crept into Christianity today in such a deep stronghold that those who want to walk with God want it from a consumeristic point of view. I want to hear the whisper of God because I am a consumer. Others have it, I want it. People have not learned the whole joy of surrender to a God who loves us. The other thing is we don't have the discipline. Discipline is passing. Richard Clayderman is disciplined. You cannot play the piano like Richard Clayderman without the discipline of Richard Clayderman. Some people think he's talented. True, he's talented. But he disciplined himself to play hours on end. Every Olympic champion had paid the price, paid the dues for discipline. There is nothing worthwhile accomplished on planet Earth. Nothing spectacular that is accomplished without discipline and or perseverance. The paradox of life is that we cannot just hold on to one part of truth and forget that truth has a tension, truth has a balance. And the theology is, all of us are different. There is no one way except Jesus. There are many ways, many gifts, champion that because it's the theology of spiritual gift. I have a hero when I was growing up in Youth for Christ. He was the National Director of Youth for Christ, Andrew Goh at the time. He's a superb public speaker. He was and is and I hope still will be until the Lord comes. And my goal was to be like Andrew Goh. And the Lord said to me, don't be a third class Andrew Goh, be a first class Edmund Chan. Be who God wired you to be. So in this sense we are different. But at the same time we are the same when it comes to the core mission of our life. Your calling may be different because that's your distinctive vision. But your that's your distinctive vision and your directional vision is different calling. But your dynamic vision is the same. Jesus and His great mission. So when I look at the different convictions, here are 4 that will unite us. Number 1, Jesus Christ is coming again soon. Can't deny that. Second, because Jesus Christ is coming again soon, the urgent task is word evangelization. All of us will say amen too. Here's the third, and here's where the rubber meets the road for discipleship. The key to word evangelization, the biblical key, is disciple making. You go back to the scriptures. You read Robert Coleman, the master plan of evangelism. It is disciple making. It is the mandate, the model, and the message of Jesus Christ. Discipleship, disciple making. The 4th conviction, at the heart of disciple making is discipleship to Jesus. Radical New Testament discipleship to Jesus. If we can agree on this 4 conviction, then you can do anything. You can be a missionary aviation pilot, you can be a school teacher, you can be a doctor, you can be a road sweeper, you can be a pastor, but you have the same passion. And in that passion, you have the same vision. We are all different calling, different gifts, but the passion is Jesus. The passion is the Great Commission. The passion is discipling.